Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Welcome back to another episode of Season Rundown, where I, Shady Doorags, run down my thoughts about the episodes of My Little Pony throughout this season. And finally, we've come down to Season 6. Here we are. I was starting to believe that we'd never get this far, but here we are. Season 6, now, if you remember my thoughts about the season finale of Season 5, I believe that that Starlight Glimmer was pretty much going to bring down Season 6. So, I gotta say, when I first came into the season, I was not looking forward to it. And coming into this season rundown, this episode rundown, this is the first one I'm honestly not looking forward to. Because I was looking at the episodes as I was preparing for this, and they just brought about a couple of emotions that I have forgotten, but we'll get to them when we get to them. For now, let's go ahead, get everything set up, get everything prepared, and start with the first two episodes, The Crystalling. This is where Twilight and the gang, they go to see Shining Armor and Calyx's new baby, Flurry Heart, and while they're doing that, Starlight and Spike are going off to help with Starlight's first friendship lesson in getting back together with Sunburst. While this happens, Flurry Heart, it turns out, is an alicorn, which, to me, you know, Hasbro did this whole reveal with her being an alicorn and whatnot, and I guess that would have been a fairly unique surprise if we had learned about it during the show, but they decided to reveal it. That kind of killed any surprise they had. It's pretty clear that Flurry Heart is a merchandising thing with Hasbro and DHX. That's pretty much what they're doing with her. If she has some significance to the overall lore of MLP or the overall arc that's going on, which I haven't seen season 7 yet, but I don't think she does. They're pretty much going to be making it up on the spot. They clearly want people to buy toys and stuff. That's why she's such a different baby from everyone. That's why she's got the eyes. Oh, and she's unique. She's an alicorn. I understand why she frustrates a lot of people, because there's really no point to making this character an alicorn other than to just get people talking about her so that they can buy products of her. I don't hate Flurry Heart, but I certainly understand the overall hatred that surrounds her. People think she's just such a pointless character, and I agree. But I have a weakness for babies when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, you know, she acted like a baby in my opinion, and that's pretty adorable. You know, that melts my heart when that happens. So I was overall fine with Flurry Heart. But Flurry Heart does wind up breaking the Crystal Heart, which causes the Crystal Empire to be surrounded by snow, and this is very underwhelming. You know, after all the things we've had with Sombra, with Chrysalis, with Discord, to say that, oh, horrible weather is going to destroy the Crystal Empire. It's like, well, don't Pegasi control the weather? And they tried to go address that. It's like, oh, these are not like the storm clouds normal Pegasi deal with. These are advanced storm clouds, and that doesn't work because you've really given no real reason as to why these clouds are different, other than they're basically saying, well, they're different. They're not giving a real reason as to why they're different. They're just saying that they're different. And to say that the clouds are so powerful that Celestia and Luna, who control literal celestial bodies, that they can't handle these storms, it seems very forced, very contrived. Meanwhile, we got this thing with Starlight Glimmer going on, and I've made my feelings clear about this in my Why Starlight Glimmer Sucks video. I don't care about what's happening to Starlight Glimmer for the reasons I explained in the last season's rundown about the season finale. This character has not earned me caring about her. They've basically, to me, it's like they plop this random character on screen and they're expecting me to care. Like Sunburst was a random character they plopped on the screen, and I actually cared about what he was going through. The fact that he had a cutie mark in magic, but it wasn't in doing magic like Twilight's is. It was in understanding magic. Like he's probably on the same level as understanding of magic as Twilight is. He might even be more advanced. And while I have issues seeing Starlight as a more powerful unicorn than Twilight is, I am more lenient towards seeing Sunburst as being somewhat more knowledgeable about magic. Because while Twilight focuses on both knowing magic and doing magic, Sunburst can't focus on doing magic. His magic isn't powerful enough to do so. So he only focuses on the study of magic. Whereas Twilight has to take time to practice what she's studied. Sunburst doesn't. He just sits down and learns it. I hope that's making sense. You know, I don't want to sound too much of a hypocrite and be like, oh, I hate Starlight for doing this one thing, but I like Sunburst for doing the exact same thing. There are distinct differences in my mind up to these characters. And I actually did have concern for Sunburst in this season finale, but not Starlight. Spike was really good though. I said this in one video too. The one thing I do like about Starlight is her relationship with Spike. I should more say Spike's relationship with her. How she treats Spike is meh. But how Spike treats her, I genuinely feel like Spike is her friend. Whereas the other main six, I don't feel that way. I don't feel it's authentic. Spike pushes Starlight to uncomfortable levels and treats her like a friend, in my opinion. To this season premiere, I think it is the weakest season premiere that the show has had. Even compared to the first season premiere, which had a lot of flaws that I pointed out, this one, the overall thing is that it's underwhelming. Even if you take out my care about Starlight Glimmer, like, who cares about the weather? And then you have Flurry Heart, who doesn't even make that big of an impact. She's just there to get a reaction out of people, and it's an overall flop of a season premiere. So I'm gonna say I don't think it might be disliked mainly because of Starlight Glimmer. Other than Starlight Glimmer, see Starlight Glimmer for me has a certain negative connotation to her. When she's on screen, I immediately dislike something just because she's there. And I know that's somewhat not fair, but at the same time, it is how I feel. So I'm gonna say that my overall feelings toward this episode range somewhere between meh and disappointed. I definitely wasn't insulted by it, but it was just boring. Episode 3, The Gift of Maud Pie. Maud! Gotta love Maud. I really do love Maud. I want to talk about her so much. But first, the episode. This is where Pinky and Rarity get together in Manhattan, and they're getting together with Maud as well. Pinky is there because she has this annual thing with her sisters where she gets together with them and spends the day with them. Rarity is there because she's looking for another shop for her to expand her business. And that's something I didn't touch upon in that one episode. What was that? I think it's called Canterlot Boutique. That episode where Rarity got a boutique in Canterlot. Yeah, I do love seeing these characters reach their dreams. Rarity and Rainbow Dash both reached their dreams. And that was something I had wanted to see since the beginning, since before I even started watching the show. When I was told that Rainbow Dash wanted to be a Wonderbolt, I wanted to see her achieve that dream. So I really like to see them doing that and to go past that. Because, as many people have pointed out already, once you achieve your dream, you don't stop there. You didn't just want to be the head of your own business and then just stop. You wanted to be the head of your own business because you wanted to keep it going. It's like I said, I have dreams for Shady Doorags Entertainment, not because I just want to be big and famous, but because I want to do things once I get to that level. And I want to keep going with that dream. So, I'm glad to see Rarity is doing that. Now, to this episode is once again about gift giving. And this episode actually made me feel guilty because the thing about what's going on is Pinky wants to give Maud a better gift than Maud gives her, because Maud always gives the best gifts. Oh, Maud. I'm trying to prevent myself from fangirling about Maud. But she tries it. She finds a perfect gift that's going to be better than, definitely going to be better than what Maud gives her. And she tries to get it, but it winds up being closed. Somebody, it was either Cell Specs or Mad Munchkin, somebody said, well, Rarity could have made one. Rarity does know her way around fabric. And I completely glossed over that when I was watching the episode. But what winds up happening is she winds up finding it in a shady place. Discriminatory. Why did I say that? Cut! Use a different description. She winds up finding it in a less than authentic place, but she finds the item that she wants for her sister, but in order to get it, she has to give her party cannon, something she loves a lot. It's a lot like that old Christmas story. I can't remember the name, but it's where the two characters give up the thing they love for their person the most, for the thing that the person they love the most wants. But the thing here is that Pinkie Pie, it's seen as a negative thing, and I think in this aspect it should be seen as a negative thing, because Pinkie Pie is going what is considered too far to give somebody a present. Maud finds out, and the older sister mentality that Maud has toward Pinkie, I love it. When in the other episode with Maud, when she saved Pinkie and then she glared angrily at her, and then she immediately afterwards hugged her, like, this character, for how stoic she is, has so much personality. Freaking love Maud. And Maud finds out, and she goes to get Pinkie's cannon back. And the moral of the episode is what made me kind of feel guilty, because Maud was like, it doesn't matter how good the gift is. What matters is that gifts are an expression of how much you love someone. And I know you love me a lot. And I was like, that was a really good moral. It made me feel bad because I've gone on and on about how I think Suited for Success had a really bad moral. And one of those morals was don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Now, I stand by my feelings about that episode, that it was a bad moral, because I think there's a distinct difference between you saying you appreciate a gift even though you don't like it, and what this episode, and just flat out saying your gift, I'm ungrateful for your gift. You know, and this episode was trying to teach you to be grateful for the gift, and the episodes in the ponies in Suited for Success were grateful for the gifts that Rarity had gotten them. I hope I'm making my thoughts clear. But I love this episode so much, and I'm trying so hard to contain myself because freaking Maud, man. She is such a good character. There's not much I can say about her that I haven't already said before. Despite the fact that she's stoic, she has so much good personality about her. She's such a standout character. Okay. Also, there's a really good, there's a really good foiling going on here. I was hoping Rarity would learn to understand Maud just as well as Pinkie did, and that would be how they got the canon back. She kind of pretended that she understood Maud. It was still funny nonetheless, but I would have preferred that she actually understood Maud and then been surprised at the end, like, wow, I actually could tell that you were angry. Something like that. But all in all, this was definitely an insta-fade. Love this episode. Episode 4, On Your Marks. This is where Apple Bloom feels, the CMC, they're all just so happy that they got their cutie marks, but they realize that, what I was saying before, just because they accomplished their dream doesn't mean they need to stop there. They need to keep going. That was something that they said in the song We'll Make Our Marks, which is one of the reasons why I love that song, is that they say, we started out just 3 crusaders driven to see what we find in our hearts, discover our destiny. And here we are, best friends, about to start it again, an adventure that never will end. Those lyrics are, they mean a lot to me in regards to fulfilling your dream, because you start out small, you get to a point that you didn't think you'd get to, you thought maybe you wouldn't get to, but you finally get there, and you realize that's the start of something new. I want to say Josh Scorcher said it best. And really, he didn't say it best. He quoted Rapunzel from Tangle, or Flynn Rider from Tangle. Once you achieve your dream, you get to start a new dream. The CMC didn't realize that at the beginning of this episode, and they're like, you know, we got our cutie marks. I love how they were staring at their cutie marks. Like they were just the best thing in the world, and they kept losing focus every time they looked at them. That's how I feel with my own personal projects. You know, I don't think my projects are the best in the world, but I'm, for the most part, always proud of my projects, and I love just going back and looking at them. You know, I watch my old videos all the time. But during this episode, Apple Bloom feels kind of outcasted, because while Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle go off and try different things, Apple Bloom has always had this group mentality and figured they'd always do things together. And she tries out a bunch of different things, but it just don't work for her. Apple Bloom does not want to be alone. which is something I did not consider about her character. But when you think about it, it has always been there, because she wanted her cutie mark to be included. That was originally in the first episode. She wanted to be included with the rest of the people. And the CMC made her so happy because she realized there were other fillies who hadn't yet had their cutie mark. Like when Twist got her cutie mark, she never spoke to her again, pretty much, because she felt outcasted. So, and what happens is Apple Bloom eventually finds this dance class, and she finds this guy who's, he doesn't realize that he's really good at dancing because he's super nervous at it. And Apple Bloom is feeling so sorry for herself that she doesn't realize her job is right in front of her. You know, at this point, she's supposed to be realizing what people's special talents is, which at this point in the series, I've gotten over. Unlike Starlight Glimmer, I've gotten over the CMC special talents being what they are. I still think that episode is a horrible episode, but I've gotten over it by this point. And the other CMC talk to her about it, and they say, "Wait, you saw somebody who didn't know what what their destiny was, and you didn't do anything?" And so the overall moral, the overall atmosphere of the episode, you know, it's pretty much meh to me. I can see where it was going, but it felt really meh. Like I just didn't care too much what Apple Bloom was going through, mainly because I couldn't relate to it. Not knowing what you want to do isn't really something I've gone through too much. And I like to be alone, so it was an overall meh episode. Episode 5, Gauntlet of Fire. This is when Spike was summoned by the Dragon Lord, Dragon King, something like that, and there's going to be a competition to see who the new Dragon King is going to be. And Spike initially doesn't want in because he has no interest in being king. True to his character, I like that. But then he finds out that someone bad could become the Dragon King, and they could start attacking ponies. And he cares about ponies, so he says he'll join the competition to stop somebody bad from being the king. And he works together with this other dragon, who she doesn't share the same mentality as Spike, but because she's small and weak, she is forced to accept his help. And she learns through him the value of friendship and blah, 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 blah. And even though Spike becomes the Dragon King, he lets her become the king because his goal was not to be in charge. His goal was to stop people from oppressing ponies. Stop the dragons from oppressing ponies. Which I really like in retrospect. When I was watching the episode, I wasn't thinking about it too much, but I really like in retrospect that Spike didn't want to be in charge. You know, it helps go against that harsh feeling I felt in Princess Spike, because Spike just wants to help. I think I've made that clear by now. Spike just wants to help. He doesn't want to be in charge. He wants to be the one helping the person in charge. He wants to be the assistant. That's what he desires. A lot of people absolutely love this episode and call this episode the best Spike episode, like one of the greatest episodes in MLP, and they're so relieved to finally see a good Spike episode. Personally, I liked Manifestation, whatever that episode is called, and Equestria Games better. Equestria Games maybe because I related so much to Spike. I think objectively I would say this episode is better. I mean, there's a lot of dragon lore that actually makes sense introduced, but overall, I wasn't really that struck by it. It's more meh than anything. So overall, a good episode, but just not for me. Episode 6, No Second Prances, Starlight Glimmer episode. Joy. I'm so less fired up than I normally am about these episodes, man. I'm just so annoyed by Starlight Glimmer. This is the episode where Twilight wants to show how much Starlight has improved, even though we've only seen her do one lesson. She wants to show her to Celestia, and so what Starlight has to do is make a new friend and bring them over for dinner. Starlight winds up making friends with Trixie, whom Twilight still holds a grudge against for what she did in the past, even though I thought Twilight had forgiven her. You know, they blamed it on the amulet, but whatever. So what winds up happening is Starlight is torn between Twilight telling her who to be friends with and Trixie trying to be her friend but winding up manipulating her. Trixie accidentally winds up manipulating Starlight. She genuinely wants to be friends with Starlight. But because Twilight is in the mix and Trixie has this obsession with beating Twilight, she lets that get the better of her. It's another one of those episodes where because they throw Starlight into the mix, I instantly have a dislike, and I have to realize the parts that I do like about the episodes. I don't like how they're treating Twilight's like need to impress Celestia. They said at the end of season 3, Celestia will be learning from Twilight as much as Twilight will be learning from Celestia, but Twilight still feels the need to impress Celestia. And that happened in the last season too. Twilight was doing things just to impress Celestia, and it's like, no, you're the princess of friendship. You do this because it's your responsibility as the princess of friendship. Don't do it because you're seeking praise. And I guess I can't fault it too much because that is part of Twilight's character. She has worshipped Celestia since she was a filly. That inspired her to take up magic. But I would like her to grow past it. I really would. Overall, I'm going to say that I dislike this episode mainly because of Starlight Glimmer. What Trixie goes through is an interesting dilemma, trying to make a friend, but also trying to keep her jealousy of Twilight in check. What Twilight goes through is interesting, even though I don't like it about her, trying to let her student make her own decisions as well as guide her. But I still just don't like it. I'm sorry, I know Starlight is going to ruin a lot of my opinions of what's going on in this season, but it is what it is. Starlight actively brings the thing down, because when I see her, all I think is, I cannot stand this character. I don't care about this character. Why is she on the screen? Episode 7, Newbie Dash. This is when Rainbow Dash officially joins the Wonderbolts. This is when Rainbow Dash achieves her dream. I said before, I thought she did it in the last season. I guess she became a recruit in last season. This is when she officially joins the Wonderbolts. She's not a recruit. She's on the team. And that is just a wonderful thing. That's just such a wonderful thing. It's one of those moments like the CMC getting their key mark. Something we wanted to see for a long time. And we're so glad to see it. Now, during this episode, Rainbow Dash joins the Wonderbolts, but she gets a nickname that reminds her of a nickname she didn't like when she was in flight school. And throughout the episode, she's just trying to get rid of the nickname because she really doesn't like it. And then at the end of the episode, she realizes that the nickname means she's part of the team. And this is something I realized when I was in high school. You know, that the older generation of a society likes to hark on the younger generation as a term of sport. It's not that they're bullying. It's that they're doing it as a term of sport. And a lot of people saw this episode as bullying, as justification of bullying. And I don't see it as that way, because bullying has malicious intent behind it. And yes, there are people who don't have malicious intent and still wind up bullying, but I don't think the Wonderbolts did that. Because there are people who I share this relationship with all the time. In fact, I tell people, I said, the more you get to know me, the more of a jerk I will be to you. Because I think it's funny. And the more of a jerk you can be to me, because I think it's funny. And there was something that Animated James said. It wasn't in this episode. He was reacting to the season finale. And he was saying that people say, they'll say something mean and they'll say, oh, it's okay, I'm just a jerk, as if that makes it okay. And in a sense, it does make it okay, because that's who your personality is, and it's not you trying to be malicious. It's just you trying to be you. It's you trying to be funny. That's your way of being. I relate to the people who were making fun of Rainbow Dash and why they were making fun of Rainbow Dash. It wasn't that they were trying to be mean. It was that they were trying to accept her into the group. That's their way of acceptance. And I know to some people that seems mean. I seem like a justice warrior, right? A social justice warrior right now. You just gotta be accepting of other people's cultures and traits and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I know there are a lot of people out there who agree with me, who know that this is just a way that people in certain societies deal with the newcomers. You know, they make fun of them, but they also make fun of themselves. I think that's a key difference. They also apply those rules to themselves. All of the Wonderbolts have embarrassing nicknames. All of them. I don't know what Spitfires is, but, you know, she has one. And the rules of, like, you know, what's on their name tag is their embarrassing nickname. All of them have that. And that's acceptance. That's what that is. Really trying to make it. Now, to this overall episode, I don't really care that much about it. In fact, there was a lot of cringe in this episode because Rainbow Dash was just trying so hard to get rid of the nickname. And I was just thinking from the beginning, they're not making fun of you. Just get over it. But it is what it is. I'm going to say overall it's meh to me. Didn't really do too much for me. But in talking about it, there is a lot to talk about. Episode 8, A Heartwarming's Tale. This is when Twilight tells a story to Starlight because Starlight doesn't want to get involved in the heartwarming because she doesn't really care about heartwarming. She doesn't really see the point. And I've seen this personality before where, you know, it's supposed to be the typical, you know, who cares about Christmas? Why should I celebrate it? It's just meaningless getting people gifts, blah, blah, blah. And Twilight tells Starlight the story, which is basically a Christmas Carol. I couldn't remember the name of it for a second. Which is basically a Christmas Carol. And Starlight, you know, with the ponies of the main cast being the episodes of A Christmas Carol. Now, I actually don't like this episode, and the reason I don't like it is because, well, I really did like some of the songs, like The Seeds of the Past. That hits me in the feels. I love the lyrics of The Seeds of the Past. I really don't like this episode because the character in the story, the Scrooge character, who was played by Starlight Glimmer, she didn't learn the value of Christmas, or Heartwarming's Eve. She didn't learn the value. What changed her mind was the fact that if she got rid of Heartwarming's Eve, the wolves would come back. Whatever they are called, the winter wolf things, they would come back. That's what stopped her from taking away Heartwarming's Eve. It wasn't the value of being with each other, which they kind of tried to put in there. Now, thinking about the original Christmas Carol, you could argue that it was Scrooge's death that ultimately convinced him to change his ways. But I always saw it as him dying alone. Him dying was a big nail that went in there, but, you know, when he goes to the Christmas future, it's like people are just talking about him as if he's just something in the past. Like, nobody cares about him. And then he sees his death, and it's like he realizes that he's just going to... Ultimately, he's just going to die, and nobody's going to care. Doesn't matter how much money he has, nobody's going to care. And when he dies, nothing is going to matter like that. It wasn't that death convinced him to change his mind, because he probably knew he was going to die eventually. It was that he was going to die alone. But this doesn't feel that way. It feels like I want to call them the Timberwolves. The wolves that do the wintery thing, whatever they're called, is what convinced this Scrooge character. Ironically, I did not automatically dislike the story because it starts Starlight Glimmer. This Scrooge character is actually more interesting than Starlight Glimmer. This Scrooge character had a better backstory than Starlight Glimmer. Like, that made sense as to why she was so bitter. Because she used to love Heartwarming, and then somebody she respected came up to her and said, it's a waste of time. If you want to get better, you have to let go of it. And so she did. That's a convincing backstory that makes a lot of sense and is relatable. A lot of people have had people they respect say something that changed their childhood or something they disagree with now, and it makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, I'm going to just say that I didn't like the episode. Mainly because I didn't like how the Scrooge character was turned over. Because it went against the message of what the episode was trying to portray. And this if you want to spend Christmas alone, that's fine. Just, you know, I don't have anything against people who want to spend Christmas alone. You know, the spirit of Christmas is supposed to be celebrating others, you know, giving and whatnot, but not everybody is into that. That's the whole thing. So overall, I just dislike this episode. Episode 9, The Saddle Road Review. This is where the main 6 participate in a newspaper article. It's really weird because it starts off with them trying to prevent Rarity from reading the newspaper article that they were in. Then it flashes back to the newspaper article. Then during it flashes back to the interview for the newspaper article. Then during the interview, it constantly flashes back to the story that they're telling. Really weird, but for some reason it worked. Like, I was not confused by this storytelling at all. You'd think something like that would be very confusing. In this episode, Rarity is getting ready to open the shop in Manhattan that she purchased in the last episode with Pinky, or in a previous episode with Pinky, and her friends are there helping, and her deadline is like the place is completely run down, and her deadline is like the next day. And so she asks her friends to help, and her friends do help, but they try to do things Rarity's way, and then they realize, oh, she asked us to help because she trusts our judgment, and so we should do things our way. And it winds up being a huge success in the end. There was one part that really brought down my opinion of this episode, and it's like I had a hard time looking past it. And it was when the owner of the building came in and said, hey, if you don't hire my daughter, I'm gonna raise your rent. I'm like, okay, well, that's illegal. And a lot of times when I'm put in that situation, I just look at people and be like, I don't care. You know, I've never been in a situation where somebody owned the building I was in and said, if you don't do this, I'm going to do something illegal to you. You know, I've never been blackmailed in that manner. But I have looked at people who have been over me, and they'll be like, hey, I'm over you. You should break the rules for me. And I say, I don't care. No, you're not going to take advantage of me. That part really upset me because it's something I've dealt with personally, and it was something I had a hard time looking past because that little girl was annoying. That little girl was very, very annoying. Overall, I looking back on it, I really do like the episode. It's a really creative and fun episode. I really love it when Twilight's organization personality, like all the main six's personality traits came out of what they value to the core. You know, Pinky was in charge of getting rid of the party, but Pinky loves to party. And she felt really bad that she got rid of it in the way she did. You know, Fluttershy was in charge of getting rid of the animals, but Fluttershy loves animals, and she didn't want to just kick them out on the street. And, you know, Rainbow Dash had to choose the best person, but she couldn't choose because they were all dedicated, and she appreciates dedication. But like I said, I always appreciate a lot when Twilight's organization comes into play, because they don't always make that big of a deal about it with her character. This episode they did. It wasn't subtle in this episode, but I just really like that about her. That she has this obsession with things being organized. I think it's because in Winter Wrap-Up, when she organized the table when the camera panned away from her, and I didn't even notice until somebody pointed it out to me. So overall, this episode is really good. Originally, I did have some negative connotations with it. But if I can just look past that part, I can remember that I really do like this episode. A really enjoyable episode. Episode 10, Applejack's Day Off. This is when Twilight and Spike look after the farm so that AJ can have a bit more time to spend with Rarity, and AJ and Rarity go to the spa to relax, but AJ winds up fixing up the spa while she's there. The overall lesson to the episode is a tradition versus doing things new, and they actually address it pretty well, because they say, well, doing these traditions is fine, but you had a reason to do them before. That reason has passed. You shouldn't be doing those anymore. You know, so it makes sense. This episode is overall meh. I don't really care too much. I really would like to care, considering they address the tradition versus doing things new so well, but I didn't really care too much about this episode. Episode 11, Flutter Brutter. This episode I do care about. I did a review on this episode. Failures versus Quitters. This is when Fluttershy's brother, Zephyr Breeze, comes back home to mooch off his parents, pretty much. And this is something he constantly does. Fluttershy convinces her parents to kick him out. He moves in with her, but she insists that he gets a job. He messes up all the jobs because he's lazy. It's not just that he fails at them, he's lazy. And he winds up learning that he has to keep trying, even when it gets uncomfortable. Now, I definitely would prefer you watch my Failures versus Quitters video, because I feel like I address how I feel about this episode in that review pretty much perfectly. Because I do feel like maybe you might come out of that video thinking I don't like the episode. I love this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes of the series. I love Zephyr Breeze. He's the kind of character that RP is exactly alike. I don't know why that sometimes I really love cocky characters and other times I can't stand them. But in Zephyr Breeze's case, he's the kind of overconfident character that I love. And I like the moral, you know, the overall emphasis. This dealt with the fear of failure, as I said in my failures versus quitters video. And there's not much I can say now that isn't just a repetition. That would be a worse repetition of what I said in that video. So if you want to know my overall thoughts about this video, just go watch that video. But overall, I really do love this episode. Definitely an insta-fave. Zephyr Breeze is just such a fun character. Oh, also, I like Fluttershy being the aggressive one in this episode. With her family. You know, I've seen that in other shows as well, where a character has this certain trait about them. And like Fluttershy is the calm, shy one. But then you get in their family and they say, oh, they're the least of that trait. And to me, the irony levels there are just always fascinating to see. So I like seeing that about Fluttershy, and as somebody who has an older sister, I like seeing her push Zephyr to certain levels of uncomfortableness and whatnot. You know, I like that about her. I like seeing her how she treats her family. Episode 12, Spice Up Your Life. So the Twilight and Starlight. I was feeling so happy, and then I said her name. Freaking. Okay, Twilight and Starlight work together to fix the Cutie map. And it's at this point I realized the Cutie map had less of a purpose than I originally thought. I went over some of this in the later parts of season 5, but it's here that the realization really came to me. Like, the purpose of the Cutie mark was not to progress some overall story as far as I know. The purpose of the Cutie mark was just to give the people, the ponies, reasons to go places where they should be. And if the writers could think of a reason, they could just use the Cutie mark. And they're probably going, like, required to use it 3 times a season just so it stays relevant. But because I had forgotten the Cutie map was even there. Like, they're like, oh, hey, the Cutie map was broken after Starlight used it to travel back in time. And I'm like, wait, it was? I didn't realize that. I didn't realize we hadn't even seen it for such a long time. I wasn't asking, hey, where's the Cutie map? Wasn't that a thing? I had forgotten about it. But yeah, Twilight and Starlight fixed the Cutie map. And just thinking about that one part just makes me angry, because I'm thinking about how Twilight needed Starlight's help to fix it. It annoys me. But we already know Starlight being powerful is something that annoys me. And it sends Rarity and Pinkie Pie to Canterlot. And once again, it's very vague, which I don't like about the series. I don't like that these things are just so vague. Just go here and you'll figure it out. But they go to this place, and they try to get something to eat, and they find that most of the restaurants are all the same. And even though they're classy, their food kind of sucks. And they find this place with really good food, but it's not classy. It has its own unique style. And Applejack and Pinkie Pie, Applejack, that's not her name, Rarity and Pinkie Pie work together to try and get this restaurant gold stars so that people will visit it. And Rarity, in Rarity's mind, all they just need is those gold stars and people will come. In Pinkie Pie's mind, all they need to do is show people what makes them unique and people will come. And what winds up happening is the episode pretty much, here's an issue I actually have with the episode. The episode pretty much says that Pinkie Pie was right and Rarity was wrong, but at the same time they were both kind of right. I don't like the episode saying that Rarity is wrong. In regards to being successful and being popular and etc., you need to know what makes you unique, and you need to know what draws an audience. So Rarity was in fact right, and at the end, like I said, they did kind of say that they were both kind of right, because they said they were doing the right thing, they were just doing the wrong job. Rarity knows how to attract a crowd. She should have been bringing people in. Pinkie Pie knows how to keep things unique and interesting. She should have been setting up the place. And I agree with that aspect. You need to know how to draw people in and show them what makes you unique, what makes you special. That's how you get people. You got to know how to get people to come and how to get people to stay. There's 2 aspects to that. And I really don't like how the episode kind of just said Rarity is just completely wrong and just trying to get these 5 stars. Because the 5 stars are, or was it 5, maybe it was 4 hooves or something like that, I don't know. But those were what drew in people getting that rating. And if the episode could have gone another route where they impressed whatever the reviewer's name was, and then after they got the 4 hooves, gone back to what they were doing. Now that's kind of a lie in doing that kind of thing, and I don't think it's the best of ways, but it could have gone that route and the solution would have been solved. The problem would have been solved. So overall, I'm going to say I disliked the episode mainly because of how much emphasis it puts on how wrong Rarity was. Because if you go out and you just do what makes you unique without learning how to draw in a crowd, you might be successful if you just happen to draw in people. That's something that's on an aspect you can't necessarily control though. If you want a more guaranteed way of success, learn how to draw them in and then show them what makes you unique. I did like the song. It's gonna work. A lot of people complain that there's recycled animation. That's something I didn't really care about. I noticed it. I definitely noticed it, but I didn't really care about when I was watching it. It was definitely a song that I, was dancing to. One that definitely stood out. So overall, dislike the episode, but it has its really, really good moments. Episode 13, Stranger Than Fan Fiction. This is when Rainbow Dash goes to a Daring Do convention and she meets Quibber something, I don't know. She meets another Daring Do fan. And they get along, but the fan says that everything after, the first 3 books was horrible. It kind of reminds you of the old Star Wars, before the new movies came out. And it also reminds you of how people feel about this season, because season 3, that's when Twilight became a princess. Or this series, I said this season. This series, that's when Twilight became a princess. And basically what happens is they wind up going on an authentic Daring Do, like a real Daring Do adventure with the actual Daring Do, because Rainbow knows Daring Do. But Quibble isn't convinced that it's part of the actual story. Like, he's like, oh, you're just trying to show me your version of this story and convince me that it's real. And here's the thing, the message at the end is that you can enjoy or dislike the series for whatever reason you want. I have somewhat of an issue. I'm not going to say people can't enjoy or dislike the series for whatever reason why. I obviously said that. That's why I have the opinion bar, so people that know that sometimes I like something even though it's bad, or that I dislike something even though it's good. The issue I have is that the show, I can't remember his name. I'm gonna say Quibble Pants, but I'm not sure what that guy's name was. The fan was basically saying, this isn't a real Daring Do, this is just what you're showing me. And that kind of creates a straw man for people who feel that way about certain fandoms. Because let's talk about the My Little Pony series, that is the case. You can't say, well, season 4 beyond is how it would naturally progress, because it is fiction. It's not like it's a real world. It is fiction. And the thing about the fan guy is that he was actually thrown into reality. It's kind of like the episode saying, hey, if you were thrown into the reality of this fiction, you would see that you're wrong about it not happening naturally. That's how it felt. Maybe that wasn't what it was going for, but that's how it felt. And I didn't like that straw man, because that's not how it's going to be with other fictional stories. With other fictional stories, there are creators who go against the natural process of their story. It happens. And I personally felt that it has happened with this show, and all the things I've said about Starlight Glimmer. So I think overall I feel meh. I just didn't like that particular part. But that doesn't bring the episode down too much. But there's not really too much in here that brings the episode up either. I don't really like seeing Daring Do because it's a constant reminder that she's not fiction. And as I said in my previous videos, I liked that they had fiction in this world. Episode 14. The Cart Before the Ponies. This episode. Okay. This is the episode where the CMC join a race, and they all want to, there are conveniently 3 trophies that they can win, and conveniently they're all in what you would expect the CMC to want to win. What is it? The fastest, most traditional, and most creative. And the CMC all decide to race with their big sisters, but they all want a different trophy. And like Apple Bloom wants the fastest? Yeah, Apple Bloom wants the fastest. Sweetie Belle wants the most traditional, and Scootaloo wants the most creative. And what I thought was going to happen was they were going to switch. Sweetie Belle was going to work with Applejack. Scootaloo was going to work with Rarity, and Apple Bloom was going to work with Rainbow Dash. And I thought that was a good chance for character dynamic to see how these different fillies play off of the different older ponies, even though we have seen Apple Bloom with Rainbow Dash before. But I thought that was going to happen. I was very interested in seeing that. But they went to their actual older sisters, and I was like, okay, that makes sense to the stories. You know, they do worship their older sisters pretty much, and they do go to them for help. And the episode winds up with being a don't live your life through your child's life kind of thing. And these are episodes these are stories I cannot stand. I was honestly planning on doing a review for this episode, but I never got the time around to doing it because this hit me in such a negative way. I don't really hate this episode, but it was annoying because what winds up happening is the CMC want to do their thing, but the older ponies are too stubborn to listen to them, and they wind up doing everything themselves, building the cars themselves, even racing the cars themselves. And then at the end, the CMC they just scream out, you know, these aren't your carts, and everybody is mad at the older sisters for taking over. And then they say, well, you don't, they say, why didn't you tell us? And they said, well, you guys are older and more experienced. We thought you knew what you were doing. Also, it's kind of hard to speak up against somebody who's older than you. And the sisters say, oh, you shouldn't listen to somebody just because they're older. It's not that isn't true. It isn't that isn't true. It's that I think that's a very tricky, possibly bad lesson to teach little kids. And the reason for that is because little kids have a very simple mentality. And I know people are going to hear that and they're going to think, oh, he's insulting little kids. Little kids' minds are still developing. That is a truth. There are some who will develop much faster than others, but in general, little kids' minds are still developing. Okay? They're in their simplistic world, what their parents and teachers say is the best advice. And inevitably, they will start thinking maybe they're wrong. That's why teenagers are known so much for rebelling, because they start thinking that maybe these people over me are wrong. But I don't think that's something that little kids should be introduced to. Now, I'm not saying there aren't horrible parents, horrible older siblings, horrible teachers out there. I'm not saying that these people are always right. I'm saying that telling a little kid to start questioning what these people are saying doesn't seem right to me. And maybe that's just because I was raised very traditionally, you know, to respect my elders and etc., etc. But I believe that people inevitably, for the most part, will start questioning elders once they get to an age where they can understand it. And I think there's a respectful way to question people who are in authority. I listen to people who are in authority because I believe they are there for a reason. Like they said in the episode, they are more knowledgeable, they've done it before, they know what they're talking about. And if I have to question them, I try my best to do it respectfully. It's not always going to happen, but I try my best to do it respectfully. And it seems like I could see a little kid watching this and then just thinking, I can do what I want, or I don't have to listen to my parents or my teacher or something like that, because they might be wrong. And I know the episode is trying to get people to just question that maybe they're wrong, not to think they're going to be wrong. But again, the mind of a child is more simple than that. I know I sound like I'm dissing children right now, but I do think there is a difference between the mind of a child and the mind of a teenager and the mind of an adult. And to tell children that their parents might be wrong about something is a complete shatter to their whole world when you do that. That's who you seek praise from. That's who you seek attention from, is your parents when you're a child. So I'm probably going to get some flack for this opinion, and I hope I made it clear about how I feel about this. But this is a trend that's going on throughout cartoons nowadays, where lots of cartoons are telling kids, hey, your parents are probably wrong, and you should question them about everything that's going on. And again, they're not wrong. It's just there's a time and place for a person to be thinking about that stuff. And for most little kids, I don't think it's adolescence. I think it's more so when they get older and they start developing who they are personality-wise. When they're in their teens, they start thinking about this stuff. And not necessarily start acting, they start thinking about this stuff. So, I know I just stomped on a bunch of toes. But it is what it is. It's how I feel. So overall, I'm going to say I did dislike this video. I was kind of, I might even go as far as to say I was insulted by this video, this episode, mainly because I've seen this lesson a lot in recent cartoons. And it really, I don't think it's been handled tactfully yet by the cartoons I've seen. I'm sure it has out there somewhere. I'm sure there's some cartoon out there that has handled it tactfully, but mainly with this episode and another episode in Steven Universe and another episode in, what's that show called? King of the Hill, where it's just like, hey, question what your parents are saying. Always question it. Even disobey if you have to. It seems very cynical to someone like me who grew up as a very obedient child and still respects authority as an adult. Episode 15, 28 pranks later. This is the episode where Rainbow Dash pulls a bunch of pranks and then she finds herself at the end of another prank. I don't really have much to say about this episode. I mean, from the title, I could tell what the episode was going to be about. Like, instantly, I knew everything that was going to happen in the episode. And it was pretty much all just meh. Episode 16, The Times They Are a Changeling. This is when Spike, Twilight, and Starlight go to the Crystal Empire and they find out that there's a changeling there. And Spike finds the changeling first, and he finds that the changeling is good, and he decides to convince people that the changeling is good, and then reveal that the changeling is good later. Like, be like, hey, now that y'all know this guy, he's a changeling. I don't know why he didn't just approach Twilight. Well, I do know why, because he wasn't sure anybody would believe him. I mean, if I were in Spike's situation, I would have just approached Twilight and been like, yo, can we give him a chance? That's what I would have done. But, you know, there are people out there who would prefer to prove what they're saying before they just say it. You know, that makes sense. I can't call them an idiot for doing that. That makes sense to prove, especially since every changelings are inherently evil. I mean, if somebody brought a demon up to me and was like, hey, he's good, I don't think I'd believe that. There are a lot of people who would believe that, no thanks to anime. Thanks to a lot of fiction. But this episode, I want to say, is meh. This is the first episode I found out information about before I watched it, because I needed to get some information from a video, and that video was a review of this episode. And so I watched the whole video, and they didn't really spoil it too much for me. And then after I watched that video, I went and I watched another video about it, and there are some issues that Josh Scorcher said that I kind of agree with, and it's that, you know, changelings don't have to feed off love. Then why do they do it? Is it because it's easy? It's clearly not an easy process. Like, they make it harder for them. But then I guess that goes with the saying, you know, there's crime out there that takes a lot of work to do. People still do it. Overall, I'm going to say this episode is kind of meh. I didn't really like Spike's song. I didn't really like Spike's song at all. I don't think this is a particularly good Spike episode. I think it's just meh overall. Episode 17, Dungeons and Discord. This is when Spike and Big Mac invite Discord to play a board game. This episode had ups and downs. I really like the creativity of Discord in this episode. I like that if you're a nerd, one of your biggest fantasies is to see the thing that you like to do come to life and to participate in that thing with no negative repercussions. And I was like, yo, you're inviting Discord to a board game? He could make that thing come to life with no consequences. That would be amazing. And sure enough, that's what he wound up doing. Discord's attitude did upset me though, because the episode was saying what he was doing was bad, so I can't really fault the episode for it, but it annoyed me what he was doing to Spike and Big Mac, chastising them because they didn't want to go out on the town. They just wanted to sit down and have a board game. He was making fun of their board game because he didn't understand it. It's the typical extrovert bullying introvert kind of thing, and I know with that diction, I just made extroverts sound like jerks. No, introverts can bully extroverts too. There are situations where introverts can bully extroverts. But this was a situation where somebody who has an extrovert mentality, they like doing things out loud with outward energy with a bunch of people, was chastising what introverts were doing. Just sitting down, doing something where the energy is pulled inside them and they have their own fun in their own way. So that, you know, whenever I see introverts being bullied like that, you know, it's a trigger in me and makes me really dislike what's going on. But the episode was saying what he was doing was wrong. So it's not something I can put fault on the episode. It's just something that upset me, pretty much. It was supposed to upset me. Overall, I'm going to say it's a meh episode. I did like it. I might say I liked it. It's somewhere between meh and like. But there wasn't too much that stood out to me other than the whole chastising of people for doing their different hobbies and whatnot. I like that Spike is friends with Big Mac. You know, I think there should be more of that. I think there should be more interaction with Spike and Big Mac. I just like seeing the dude hang out with... This is going to sound incredibly sexist, but I like seeing Spike hanging out with another male. Spike is surrounded by these females, and that has a certain aspect on somebody who is a young male. And I'm not saying that aspect is necessarily bad, but I think there are some good aspects that can come from having an adult male in Spike's life. And I like seeing that. I like seeing Big Mac and I like what they were doing was so just geeky and dorky, and that everybody else was making fun of them, and then at the end, Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash were like, okay, this is actually kind of awesome. I want to join. You know, I like seeing that. I love geeky stuff. You know, I am a geek. You can see all that behind me. You know, so it was an okay episode. Okay, episode 18, Buckball season. This is where Applejack and Rarity pressure Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie to play in their place for the Buckball competition. This episode had a lot of good things about it. I think I overall feel somewhere between meh and like, but it had a lot of good things about it. I said before, I like when a fictional environment takes aspects of the real world that we wouldn't normally think about and puts them in there. One of those things is sports. I think any reality, anywhere, would have sports. I just think it's something... You know, we have recreation. We have a lot of recreation that we do in our society, and we've had it for eons. So why wouldn't anybody else have just something that they could sit down and relax, unless their brains didn't work like ours did? But Pony's brains do, for the most part, work like ours do. So it was fun to see this sport with actual rules in it come into play. It reminded me of Legend of Korra with that avatar bending kind of stuff. Anyway. With this episode, I like the lesson of the episode that different people are, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspired by different things. Some people, if you put pressure on them, that inspires them to do better. And I like how because I related more to Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie in this episode, but I understood that there were people like Applejack in Rainbow Dash, even though I never really thought about it. People who thrive off pressure. They love it when things are counting on them. And that goes back to when Applejack did, what's that episode called? I was going to say Over a Barrel. It's not Over a Barrel. The episode with Cherry Jubilee when, I can't remember what it's called. The Last Roundup, that's what it's called, yeah. When Applejack was there, the whole town was depending on her to win the money, and she was so sure of herself, you know. That goes back to that. That's good character and good continuity there. And I like that they've done something positive with Snails. You know, they haven't really done anything too much positive with him or Snips. So I like that, you know, he's just naturally good at this. I like when characters are naturally good at certain things, and that's another thing that this was about. You know, people are naturally good and people who are good because of practice and hard work. I like that aspect of it. As long as there's like not anything that says one is better than the other, because natural talent will get you so far, hard work will get you so far. If you have both, then you'll probably reap the benefits of both worlds. But yeah, I like that Snail's he was just naturally good at catching Buckballs. And so were Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie. So overall, I think it's a really good episode, even though mentally I still feel like it's meh. I still feel like it's meh. Even though I just said all that, I still feel like the episode is meh overall. Episode 19, The Fault in Our Cutie Marks. Oh, this episode. I had to reread the summary because I was like, I don't remember this episode. What's this about? This is when Gabby comes in and she finds the CMC and she pretty much worships the CMC. And I saw this character and I was like, I'm going to hate this character. I genuinely thought I was going to hate Gabby. Like, when you bring these overly happy characters in, I think I'm going to hate them. This has happened to me so many times where I think I'm going to hate them. But I've been proven wrong on that many times. Rapunzel from Tangled, I loved her. Freaking Star in The Forces of Evil, I loved her and I thought I was going to hate her. Just there are a lot of overly happy people that I honestly thought I was going to hate, but I loved. And Gabby is one of them. I thought I was going to hate this character. And she comes to the CMC because she wants them to give her a cutie mark. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why is this Griffin so different from everyone else? And that was never really answered. So that might be a problem I would have with the episode. If the other parts weren't so good. The CMC are like, you want a cutie mark, you're not a pony. Only ponies can have cutie marks. And she's like, I know it's impossible, but I want it. And that's the part that made me just go, oh, geez, this character. Is this going to be another you can do it as long as you believe episodes? And immediately Scootaloo was like, okay, we're going to get you a cutie mark. And I was face palming so hard. Like, I'm going to hate this episode. Why did you do that, Scootaloo? Why did you lie to her face? And they immediately turned around. They said, hey, Shady, do you remember that episode that you really liked? The one with Scootaloo, and she couldn't fly. Well, here's that right back in your face. Scootaloo's like, I know the disappointment of wanting something so bad and not being able to achieve it. And then I thought in my mind, just try. You gotta just try, even if it's impossible. I'm like, you know what? You guys got me. You guys got me. I was so annoyed by everything that was going on, and you threw it right back in my face. Maybe she'll get her cutie mark. Maybe she won't. She's all kinds of awesome anyway. And so they go throughout this montage of trying to get her a cutie mark, and Gabby turns out to be really good at everything, which a lot of people said that makes her kind of a Mary Sue. To me, Mary Sue is more than just the traits that are defined there, being good at everything. Mary Sue is a character atmosphere that comes about her, in that she can achieve everything. Gabby was good at everything, yes, but she wasn't getting the goal that she wanted. And the goal seemed, by her being good at everything, made the goal seem farther away. Because the CMC weren't good at anything they were doing. So they couldn't, when you find something that you're born to do, that's when you get your cutie mark. The fact that she felt like she was born to do everything made it seem farther and farther away from her getting her cutie mark. And eventually, they're like, we're not sure how we can get you a cutie mark. And it's a moment I really appreciate, just having to realize that you've tried your best, but you're not sure how something is possible. And Gabby takes off. And I kind of realized what was going on. I was like, after that song, I was like, this girl is just so happy to help people. And, when that came in, you guys all know this, people who just want to help people who just want to serve, I have a weakness to them, man. I have a huge weakness to those types of characters. And she comes back and she's like, I have a cutie mark. It's right here. And again, I'm thinking, why are you lying? Why are you lying? This is the one time I can think of in this show where a character lied and I thought it was actually good for the plot and for character. And they revealed it. They said she lied because the CMC were trying so hard and she just didn't want to let them down. And I'm like, that is such within an assistant character's mentality. I love this. I love this episode, man. I love freaking Gabby. I love her mentality. I love that she just wants to help people to the point that she felt she had to lie to keep the CMC from feeling like they hadn't helped her. Like, I normally don't like lying at all. You know, I still say it was wrong in that situation to lie, but I think it helped out the story and helped her character that she lied to the CMC. Makes a lot of sense. And in the end, the CMC said, you don't really want a cutie mark. You just want to know how you can help people. That's what you really want. And they give her this, you know, authentic cutie mark, this inauthentic cutie mark. And they make her a CMC. And it was just a here we are moment, you know. Just, she went out to do something, she didn't do it, but she achieved so much in trying to do that. And that's just something I love. That's just, I cannot express how much I love that. I love seeing somebody go out and trying to achieve their dreams. And even if they don't achieve it, they achieve so much, even more than what they thought. You know, Gabby became a member of the CMC. And these are people she worshipped. And she was so happy to be a CMC member. And she was so happy to get that cutie mark thing that they gave her. And I loved it, man. I love this episode. I freaking love this episode. Such a good episode. Episode 20, Viva Las Pegasus. This is when the Cutie map sends Applejack and Fluttershy to Las Pegasus, and they meet the Flim Flam brothers there, and there's another friendship problem that they have to solve, and it turns out that the manager of the hotel is manipulating everybody to be against each other so that he can fully be in control. This episode was pretty much meh. It was disappointing to see the Flim and Flam because I see that they're still not really putting them down the path that I would like to see them go down, but it's something I've kind of gotten over at this point, excuse me. So, you know, Fluttershy and Applejack aren't really a good dynamic, I don't think. I don't think they foil each other really well. At least not in this episode. If they can, they didn't prove it in this episode. So, overall, just meh. Nothing to really talk about there. Episode 21. Every little thing she does. I did a reaction to this episode. This is where Starlight thinks that she's not going to pass Twilight's friendship test, and so in order to make the test go better, she puts a spell on the rest of the main five. And I went into huge detail in my reaction of why I actually love this episode. You know, I went in. People told me that this was the episode. This was the episode that brought them to my Starlight Glimmer Sucks video. This episode made them hate Starlight Glimmer so much. I went in expecting to hate this episode, and it turned out that I loved it. I still hate that Starlight is this really powerful unicorn, to the point that in the episode, she's teaching Twilight magic lessons. Like, that, no, that should not be. That should not be. But everything past that, I really, really liked. I really liked all the character moments. I like that Starlight has this bad habit of changing ponies. That has happened throughout the series. That's good continuity, good character, and good consistency. I liked certain moments like when Pinkie Pie got angry. That's something I don't see, or at least remember a lot when it comes to Pinkie Pie. She legitimately got angry at Starlight Glimmer for making her burn a cake. It didn't last long, but it was there. I loved all the jokes. The jokes to me worked so well, especially since everybody was making those blank faces the whole time. It's just the juxtaposition to me made it so much funny. And I loved the apology Starlight gave. How she said, I can't make up for what I did right now. The only thing I could do is say that I'm sorry. There was no excuse for what I've done. You know, it was really well worded. The only thing that I might nitpick about in that apology is she said, "Someday I hope to make it up to you." You know, I don't. If you're sorry for what you've done, I don't know if you necessarily have to make it up to somebody. But other than that, you know, yeah, just be sorry for what you've done. That's how you apologize. And know that there's no excuse. If you truly believe what you did was wrong, then know that there is no excuse. You know, there are instances where you apologize and there could be an excuse or something like that, but Starlight knew there was no excuse for what she did. And you know, I just like all the aspects about this episode in particular, other than Starlight being super ridiculously powerful in magic. I don't like that. I also had issues with Twilight. You know, I was like, Twilight, this girl already knows magic. Why aren't you teaching her friendship? But that's not too much of a problem when I think about it. You know, it's an aspect of the episode I could nitpick at, but it's not one I'm going to in retrospect. So overall, I really do love this episode. If it wasn't for The Fault in Our Cutie Marks, this might be my favorite episode of the season. But I'm pretty sure The Fault in Our Cutie Marks is my favorite episode of the season. Episode 22. P.P.O.V, Pony Point of View. This is where Twilight tries to figure out what went wrong on Pinkie Pie's, Applejack's, and Rarity's trip to the sea. She hears a different version of the story from all three, and then she pieces it all together using the different aspects. This is something I would expect from the older seasons. I didn't really expect something from this season. You know, seeing the main six fight in such a way, seeing part of the main six fight in such a way that you would think that the Council of Friendship wouldn't fight in this way. Like, we've seen them disagree, etc., but to get in such a major argument over such a simple disagreement and to not just talk to each other at all, that's something you wouldn't see from the Council of Friendship. B, because the problem in itself just seems so minor. And I do kind of miss some of the minor problems of the older seasons, but again, applying it to the main six just didn't help with its case. And 3, because the overall solution just seemed out of nowhere. It's like, oh, there was a friendly monster in the water. You know, I could tell because of the bubbles and stuff. And it's like, well, how was the audience supposed to know that? The audience had never heard of this creature before. Did they? They might have foreshadowed it earlier in the episode. I don't think they did, though. It just seemed really out there, the final conclusion. Like, I just thought the whole lesson was going to be, you know, everybody was trying to make everybody else have a good time, which was part of the lesson. But then they brought in that random monster. I was like, what was the point of that? Whatever. The joke where, you know, Spike was really trying to find out how they got back to shore, that was, meh. I mean, it could have worked. It didn't really work for me, but I could see how it could make some people laugh. So, overall, meh. Episode 23, Where the Apple Lies. Oh! Jeez, I forgot about this episode. Oh my goodness. This is where Applejack tells the story of when she was a filly and she continuously lied. This is the story of why she doesn't lie. It starts out with Apple Bloom lying to Applejack about something, which again, immediately I was like, why don't you just tell the truth right there? You know, it's a simple misunderstanding. You can run out to the person and be like, hey, we can fix this right quick, but instead you decide to lie. It was, to me it was stupid. I realized that lying is something that most people go through, so they could probably relate to these characters more. It's something I've never really done. I've lied before, don't get me wrong, I've lied before, but whenever I have lied, I've always felt like I failed in some way. Like there was a way I could have gotten out of the situation I was in by not lying, and I made the situation worse by lying. So I try to go throughout my life without lying as much as I possibly can. And when I see these characters on screen just doing all these lies to try and get out of problems, I'm like, if you just tell the truth, it'll be easy. This entire episode is just Applejack lying, and it's so annoying. But it is something I could have more so forgiven had it not been for one thing. And that is the fact that the episode blamed most of everything that happened on Big Mac. I was so mad at that. I was so mad at that. When at the end it's like, Big Mac's like, well, maybe if I had just listened to you, you wouldn't have felt the need to lie. I was like, no, Big Mac. You told her exactly what she needed to hear. You told her that if she kept lying, she would get into a mess of trouble, and it happened. You told her all of her ideas that she was going to do were wrong, that they were going to lead her into more trouble. All of this was going to happen. None of this is your fault. How dare the episode blame you? I was so mad at that. I could not believe the episode was mad at Big Mac for telling the truth. They were not only showcasing Applejack telling all these lies, they were mad at Big Mac for telling the truth. And they said that's why Big Mac doesn't speak that much anymore, because he feels that if he just listens to Applejack, she won't be compelled to do such horrible things. Well, it could also have worked if Applejack had just listened to him, because he was right the whole time. Oh, that annoyed me. That annoyed the mess out of me. And freaking, I don't understand how this story happened without Apple Bloom. Because the Apple's parents aren't there. And they're talking about who's going to inherit the farm after Granny Smith goes. So that means that it's not going to be the parents. It's going to be either Applejack or Big Mac. So how is Apple Bloom not there if there's no parents? You see what I'm saying? This story doesn't add up. So anyway, yeah, overall, insulted. Definitely insulted by this episode. It made no... it was so annoying to see Applejack lie throughout the whole thing, and it made no sense to try to pin so much blame on Big Mac when he did nothing wrong. Episode 24, Top Bolt. This is where Twilight and Rainbow Dash are sent to the Wonderbolts Academy by the Cutie map to solve a friendship problem. This is an interesting one. This is probably the Cutie map episode that I've been interested in the most, unless you consider the season 5 premiere a Cutie map episode. Because I liked the problem that was put forth, and I liked the interesting dilemmas, and I liked the whole moral of the episode. When Twilight and Rainbow Dash get to this place, they see that there are two ponies. One who is, he believes in himself all the time, but he doesn't realize that his friend is constantly helping him. And because of that, whenever the solo trials that he was going to have to go through came up, he would inevitably fail because he wouldn't have somebody helping him. And it was kind of frustrating because I was like, you have to teach this guy how to be good on his own. That's the only solution, because even Rainbow Dash is like, well, we can't tell him because of his ego. It'll hurt his ego, and if his ego is hurt when he's flying, he's not going to have a chance. I'm like, well, that's true, but it's a worse problem. It's a less worse problem than letting him think he's good and having him practice on his own, because that's not what he's used to. He needs, I believe in criticism. I believe criticism is a very important part of society, and if you're doing whatever you're doing, your occupation, whatever your hobby is, I think criticism is very important. And that's something I personally seek. I tell people all the time, if you don't like it, tell me. Tell me in the comments below if you don't like something. If you think I can improve in some way, let me know. Because if nobody ever says anything, you don't know what direction to take. You could keep going in the same direction, or you could go in a completely different direction that's horrible. You don't know unless somebody with an opinion other than yours says something. And so when they were like, let's not tell him, you know, that kind of frustrated me a little bit. But at the same time, I understood what they were saying. And it kind of reminds me a lot of RP and Ellipsis when I think about it, because Ellipsis is always helping out RP to try to make RP look good. I like that other girl, you know, she's pretty much an assistant character too. She just wants to help somebody. You know, I've said it before, I love those types of characters. So overall, I'm going to say somewhere between meh and like, but more leaning towards the like. It was a good episode. I can't really find too much fault with it other than personal nitpicks, but it is what it is. Episodes 25 and 26. To Where and Back Again by Bilbo Baggins. Okay. This is the season finale. This is with Starlight Glimmer. Starlight Glimmer goes to this old festival with Trixie, and she gets there and everybody instantly trusts her, but she's not ready to be trusted again, so she comes back, and when she comes back she finds out that her friends are all acting strange, and she has a dream, and Luna tells her that the changelings are back. And she winds up getting a crew of old villains, her, Trixie, Thorax, and Discord, and they wind up storming the castle of the Changeling Queen of the Changelings, the castle of the Changelings, and she winds up leading them throughout the castle and saving everyone. She uses Thorax to save everybody, tells him to unleash all of his love. Thorax evolves. The other changelings see this. They all evolve. And Chrysalis is offered a chance to be friends with everyone, but she says she would rather seek revenge. Okay. So, I did not like this episode pretty much at all. Let me start with some of the things I did like. I like the concept of a bunch of old villains getting together and saving the day. I like that concept. The trap where Discord got captured with the Fluttershy clones, I liked that. That was really good. I like Trixie as a character. She has some bad moments here and there in this episode, but I like Trixie as a character. I realize a lot of people are annoyed by her, but I just find her annoyance charming. Like I said, there are some characters who are bragging and full of themselves that for some reason I really like that about them. I'm attracted to confidence for some reason, but other times it pushes me away. I'm not sure why. I am really not sure why. But overall, I think this is a very, very bad season finale. I think this is a very bad episode and a very, very bad season finale. I would probably consider it the worst if I didn't have so much issues with season 5 and its season finale. First of all, there's the whole Starlight Glimmer thing, but that involves a bunch of different things, so I'm gonna elaborate that as I talk about the other stuff. But we all know I have a dislike of Starlight Glimmer. We all know that when she's on the screen, I say the same thing. Why is she so powerful? Why is she here? She hasn't earned anything, and even with the episode she's been through this season, I can't help but feel she hasn't earned what's going on here. It's like, oh, you've come such a long way. No, she didn't. She took one step forward, and everyone in our town forgave her. That's not such a long way. So anyway, other things. The Changelings capturing all of the most powerful people in Equestria. How? Why didn't they do this before? What in the mess is going on here? And the answer is obviously because they had to take all the powerful people out of Equestria to make Starlight look good. And I said in the Crusaders of the Lost Mark, when you make other characters look bad to make the character you want look good, that's something I really cannot stand. The episode needed to make Starlight look good. And another way they did that is they're like, oh, you're a really good leader, Starlight. And I'm like, no, you have not convinced me that Starlight is a really good leader. And the reason for that is because they placed these 4 characters in an environment where only Changeling magic works. And for some inexplicable reason, Starlight stepped up. That did not feel natural at all. Either Thorax should have stepped up, which he did, but then eventually he was just like, okay, I'm lost, I don't know what to do. Or Trixie should have stepped up, because Thorax's magic worked, and Trixie wasn't a powerful unicorn to begin with. She used tricks. She should have been the one stepping up. So when she comes up to Starlight, it's like, Starlight, I know you don't like being in charge, but you're really good at it. I'm like, you have not convinced me of this. You have put her in a situation and made her act in a way that doesn't make any sense. This whole scenario doesn't make any sense. And I know you're doing it just so that I'll like Starlight Glimmer. That's what's making me hate her so much. They're doing things specifically to make her like me. To make me like her. And it's going against a bunch of other things that make sense. Oh, we're going to take out all of the most powerful people in Equestria so you can focus on Starlight Glimmer. Oh, we're going to make the other characters who should be taking charge in this situation not take charge so that Starlight Glimmer can do it. No! That's making me hate her more. Stop forcing this character down my throat. Okay? Maybe I can learn to like her. Maybe. Highly doubt it, but it's not going to happen with you forcing all these situations to happen that don't make sense. And then there's the whole Changeling redesign thing. Those are some bad designs, guys. Come on. Like, I've seen people say that they like the designs. You know, you like what you like, but the colors are everywhere, man. It's a hodgepodge. The whole thing is a hodgepodge. How am I supposed to accept these as creatures? The ponies are at least certain color palettes. They make sense. The ponies, I'm talking like the ponies are bad design. The ponies are really well designed. These characters, like, no. I preferred them as black bug creatures. This episode was bad. These were all just really bad. All these elements were just really bad. So, definitely at a dislike level, maybe even insulted. I'm not 100% sure I would say I'm insulted by but because I kind of expected something like this to happen. And that actually goes towards my feelings with Season 6 overall. This is, without a doubt, my least favorite season. Which is why I said I was not actually looking forward to this episode rundown. Because I expected, when I saw the Season 5 finale, I expected the show to go downhill because of Starlight Glimmer. And I certainly feel that that's happened. I didn't want it to happen, but I certainly feel that has happened. Now, I've always said that I'm not a fan of MLP. I don't consider myself a brony because I don't actually like the show. But I do respect what it has done. I do respect what it has done in storytelling and animation and character creation. But Season 6 is something, as a whole, I don't respect. I see this as the Starlight Glimmer season. And that might be somewhat unfair because Starlight only takes up about a fifth of the season. But she plays such a dominant part in the season premiere and such a dominant part in the season finale. And I feel like the whole MLP structure is shifting towards her needs. A character who doesn't deserve what she has in regards to the literature. I don't know this character. You guys keep making things up so that I will like her. And it's not gonna work. But even if we take out Starlight Glimmer, this season just feels like I shouldn't care anymore at this point. The map does nothing. It just sends them to places and they solve problems, but they were doing that anyway. They were doing that before Twilight was a princess. They were solving problems. So what is the point of this map? To spread it beyond Ponyville? Because, again, they were doing that. They were doing that already. Maybe it's because, maybe it's to help others. I mean, Season 4 was when they really started branching out and helping others. I don't know, but as of now, I don't see a point to the show. And before, when it was Slice of Life, there wasn't really too much of a point either, but it was Slice of Life. You don't expect that to really have an overall point. Because it's leaned so far into the adventure genre, it not having a point really, really hurts the show. The point of the show seems to be building up Starlight Glimmer. With the main 6, their point has gone blurry. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know why Twilight is a princess anymore. I thought she was opening borders. I thought she was building up this thing where they would connect with other parts of Equestria, which is what they did in Season 5. But now she seems to have shifted towards Starlight. The Council of Friendship, they go out and they solve friendship problems, but who cares? They're minor problems. These people fight demons, and they're going out and doing this minor stuff. But when it's time to fight a demon, all of them are useless, except Starlight. So, yeah. Season 6 is definitely the worst. And quite honestly, I don't expect Season 7 to be better. I haven't seen an episode of Season 7 yet, but I really don't expect it to be better. This show is heading rapidly downhill. And a lot of that fault is on Starlight Glimmer, but there are also certain other elements that are leaning in towards it being that way as well. It still has its good parts, you know. There's still good episodes that I really like, still really good songs. But overall, it's going downhill. There's nothing that will get me to actually stop watching the show, because I never watched the show because I liked it. I started watching it because I was curious. I kept watching it because I wanted to see other YouTubers' content. And so I'm going to keep watching it because of that. That's always been why I've continuously watched the show. But now my opinion of the show is actually negative. It's not a show I respect anymore. And it's mainly from the storytelling perspective. It's just gone downhill. It really has. And with that, that is the last season for the episode rundown. We still have one more episode rundown left, and that is with the Equestria Girls movies. Yeah, I was kind of a downer in this one. That's for several reasons, but mainly because I took a glance at the episodes before I started this video, and I was just really not feeling it. So yeah, less energetic, less excited, but it is what it is. So I will see you guys next time for the Equestria Girls episode rundown. I guess they're episodes or whatever. But it's been real fun running down the season with you guys. I will inevitably make a Season 7 episode rundown. I don't know if it's going to be in the same format as this one, but I just want a place where you guys can easily find my opinions of the episodes, because I'm not going to do a review of every single episode. And with that, this has been Shady Doorags. So long, farewell, I'd be to say goodbye.